What's up, everybody? I am back, and today I am joined by my good friend Anthony, or as you guys might know him, LCFC Boya. Anthony, how are you, sir?
I'm great, mate. I'm a lot happier now that pre-season has started for us. Leicester had to wait a couple of days longer than everyone else, but it's just good to have football back and something you can sort of sink your teeth into. Because as much as I like the transfers, it gets a bit boring after a while, even during a busy window.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's just about the football, isn't it? And transfers are great and it's a bit of fun, but we didn't get into this for transfers. You got into this because of your love of Leicester City, and I got into it because of my love of Liverpool, and that's about the games.
Yeah, exactly. It's nothing like going to not just going to games, just watching the games and just sort of having a talk about the football and stuff. And it's what it's all about, really.
I like what you did there. You were very polite. You were halfway through what you were saying, then you went, shit, this Irish fucker doesn't get to go to many games. I better backtrack on what I'm saying here. I appreciate that, mate. Well in.
Nah, I realised pretty quickly.
That's alright. It is okay. I would absolutely love to be in your position and being able to travel and go every week. But, do you know what? I still enjoy it, and I'm sure you do as well. Today, mate, let's have a chat about the top six, and then we'll have a look at the relegation. So, if we're looking at Champions League positions, without being too big-headed about this, is it fair to say that we can probably say Liverpool and Manchester City are as close as can be to be nailed onto that top four?
Yeah, unless something goes unexpectedly wrong for either of those, I think you'll be first and second, both pushing each other like you did last year. And I think there'll be a very similar gap in terms of 1 and 2. And then I think for third place, it will almost be like in a separate league.
Did you see Toby Alderweireld came out today with a bit of an interview saying that, Liverpool and Manchester City won't be as far ahead this season? And I'm thinking, do you want to bet, motherfucker?
He's got to say that, hasn't he? He can't just say to the Spurs fans, oh, well, we're happy with getting Champions League football and we don't want to push on. He's saying what he's got to say.
Yeah, I get you. You're right. You're absolutely right. If it was a Liverpool, I'd be expecting the exact same thing. Right, so for those two remaining Champions League places, Anthony, who are you thinking for the third and fourth spots? And you don't have to give them to me in order, but who do you think, what clubs would be fighting for those last two spots?
So I think Spurs, because I think Dembele was a great bit of business. And I think their squad, in terms of their starting 11, can compete with everyone. It's just the squad depth. And then I've gone also with Man U, but it could be sort of anyone, because with Chelsea, there's the transfer ban and no Hazard, which makes me think that they could struggle to sort of get up to those levels. And then Arsenal, they're just a complete mess. So I'm going with Man U, but I'm saying it without being too convinced.
It is very tough. Do you know what? It really, really is. I've spoken about this with people from different fan clubs and even Liverpool fans, and I think everybody kind of agrees probably Manchester City, Liverpool in no particular order. Spurs most likely will get into that third spot, and then, as you said, you're looking at Manchester United, you're looking at Arsenal. There could be a surprise, you never know, but Chelsea, again, with Frank Lampard, it's very difficult to say what's going to go on there. You know what? I still can't do it, mate. I still can't pick that fourth club. The obvious choice is United, because they're going to spend some money, but I genuinely don't have much faith in Solskjaer as a manager.
The thing with United is their midfield, particularly, is so weak. If you take Pogba away from that midfield, which could well happen for them, it's a bog standard in between sort of mid-table midfield.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair shout. They haven't got Longstaff yet, by the looks of it as well, and I think Steve Bruce has said he'd like to build a team around him, although that could be just to push the price up, I suppose, for Newcastle. We'll get on to talk to about Harry Maguire maybe in our other section that we're recording, so just so people know, we're recording 2 sections today with Anthony. Yeah, Manchester United's business, mate. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, good full-back. I'm not going to argue about that. I think that was a good piece of business, and as a fan, you probably don't really care about the price. You just want your club to bring in the best that they can be. And I think I remember Liverpool fans saying, do you know what, Aaron Wan-Bissaka isn't a bad signing earlier on in the season for anyone who might make it. So I would probably say yes. I think if Chelsea, though, if Chelsea can put a run together and if they can gel on the Lampard, I think I might just tip them ahead of United, but it will all depend on how Frank Lampard can get that team playing without Hazard.
Yeah, my only thing with Frank Lampard is I think Chelsea might be too soon for him. after 1 year at Derby, he did okay, but he didn't do like exceptionally well. To go from a Championship club to Chelsea is a huge step up, and the fact that he can't bring in players to try and play the way he wants, it's going to be very, very difficult for him, without a doubt.
With Arsenal, God, is it? Can I bring myself to say I almost feel sorry for Arsenal fans? I mean, they're not really. Kroenke's son, I think, did an interview. Did you see that the other day, to come out and say that basically the last piece of the jigsaw is now in place and now it's full steam ahead, and they're being linked with more players over the last few days. And then Zaha came out today and said that he wants to leave Palace, and again still being linked with Arsenal. But look, let's be frank about this. We know there's a budget in place there, and I don't expect Arsenal to be doing huge business in this window.
Yeah, for Arsenal, I'll be looking more behind them than what's in front in terms of, I think the highest they're going to finish is sixth, and I think Wolves, Leicester, and potentially even West Ham could be right behind them, pushing them for that sixth place.
They're being linked with a lot of attackers, Arsenal, and I'm
Yeah,
thinking it's midfielders and defenders that you need. Why are you constantly linked with attackers?
that's what don't get. Do you see with Koscielny as well going on strike, their club captain, refusing to go on tour with them? And then they've got Mustafi, who's an acting-in captain on pre-season. It's like the whole thing's just a mess.
And who's that guy? Is it? I always get these mixed. Is it Salabia or Saliba or some French guy, I think, or some guy that they're looking to bring in? Sorry, there's talk that they might buy him and send him back on loan, which just sounds ludicrous again.
If you're in sort of your position or Man City's position, you can understand it. But when you can clearly see that they need a centre-back, to go spend a huge amount of what their reported budget is and then send him back for a year, it's like, I can't get my head around that. It can't be true, surely.
We did it with Naby Keita. I think we did it though to be creative in the way that we wanted to secure the player before a clause came in, before Bayern Munich took him, and we were stronger than Arsenal are now, to be fair, and probably more financially fluid. Arsenal are, they're in a tight spot, and that one just doesn't make sense. And do you know what? I don't mind Arsenal as a club. We've all had a laugh watching AFTV over the years and seeing their fans melting down and stuff. But again, I think not winning that Europa League final, Anthony, last season against Chelsea, that really was a big issue for them, much more so than probably Chelsea.
Yeah, it's strange because they prepared for it better, didn't they? Because they went out before Chelsea and sort of spent the whole week in Baku preparing for it. And then when they turned up, it was like they just weren't ready for the game and got absolutely turned over. It was such a one-sided final, particularly in the second half. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, you did feel, obviously, the Mkhitaryan situation was one we have to take on board, and that was unfortunate, and I can completely understand the player's stance on that. But that aside, as you said, they did have a lot of time to prepare. If there's one man that knows that competition better than anybody else, it's Unai Emery as well, because, let's be fair, he basically owns that competition.
Yeah, the thing with Unai Emery, I know half the Arsenal fans aren't particularly happy with him from what I'm seeing, but I feel like he's fighting sort of a losing cause when he's not getting the backing for the players that he wants. It's always going to be difficult for a manager to try and change what a club like Arsenal, that's had one manager and sort of played in the same way for 20 years, he's always going to struggle, and it's being made even harder with the circumstances of the money he's got.
Yeah, true. Although he probably would have known what he was going into when he took on the job. Is it fair to say it didn't work out from a PSG? I don't know. It's a very difficult one to judge because you're going to go in there, you're going to win the league every year. It's all about Champions League. At Sevilla, he did an excellent job. Nobody can deny that. So, yeah, I think we're probably right on the right line here. We're thinking that they're going to be in the Europa League spots. So just to pin you down, mate. So just so I think I have this right. So Manchester City, Liverpool in some order, Spurs in third, and then were you saying United for the fourth spot?
United, yeah, and then Chelsea, Arsenal.
Then it gets to the really interesting points, mate, about who can push into those European places. Now, I know sometimes 7th place can get a European spot depending on what way the cups go and stuff. So, for you, obviously being a Leicester fan, that's a position you want to be challenging for. Who do you see as your rivals for those potential Europa League spots?
Wolves, I would say, but the thing with Wolves, they did very well to get it last year. They haven't particularly strengthened so far in the window. I know there's a lot of time left. So there's Wolves and then West Ham. So there could be a couple of other teams because sometimes you get like the strange ones like when Burnley finished seventh. But I would say those are our two main rivals for getting seventh.
Any shell for Everton or West Ham?
Everton, I don't know. Like on paper, Everton should be there or thereabouts, but they never seem to get their shit together. So I don't know.
And from your perspective, is there one or two signings that you think that you might get before the window closes that would push you on to really be, I won't say a favourite, but let's say nearly nailed on for seventh?
I wouldn't say you could be nailed on with whoever we sign because I think it's going to be incredibly competitive. But I think we do need another winger. We've been linked to players like Talven of Marseille, and I think he's the kind of person that would sort of be exactly what we need because our wing options at the moment, we've got Barnes and Gray, who are both young players, and then we've got Albrighton, who's ageing, but as much as I like Albrighton, he's a hard worker, he's not sort of the kind of technical player that Brendan Rodgers seems to be favouring.
Yeah, he definitely does like technical players. I'm just, when you were talking about him, I was just thinking about Drinkwater as well. The whole time you were talking there, I was just thinking about Drinkwater and his move and what a silly, silly move that was on his behalf. I still don't understand how that happened, mate.
The grass isn't always greener.
Oh yes, Felipe Coutinho is seeing that right now.
Yeah, but to be honest, I might sound a bit stupid now, but I don't think Drinky would get in our midfield if he came back now. I really don't.
Yeah, it was for me. It was just a really, really strange decision. I just didn't get it. It was like when Fabian Delph went to Manchester City. You just knew that it wasn't going to work out, and he wasn't going to get as much game time as he wanted. And I don't know. You always want a player to back themselves, and maybe if this one big opportunity arrives in one of our careers at some point, if we had been a young footballer, who's to say what way we would have gone? So I suppose it isn't really for us to judge. Looking at the other end of the table, who are you fancying for relegation this season? Is there anybody you think's nailed on?
As much as I don't want to say it, because I really do like them as a club, I think Newcastle are going to go down. Losing Rafa, they've lost Iosi Perez, not signing Rondon, and getting Steve Bruce in. It doesn't look good for them, does it?
No, and then you have the whole thing around Paddy Power. As soon as Benitez went, they were paying out on Newcastle to be relegated. I suppose, look, Ashley might put his hand in his pockets, but no matter what he does, there is a massive backlash at that club. And I'd read somewhere that I think it's 12,000 season ticket holders haven't renewed this season so far.
That is mad. And the thing that I feel for Newcastle is obviously I've mentioned Perez leaving and Rondon leaving. Those are their two highest goal scorers last year. I don't know where the goals are going to come from them. So it just doesn't look good at all.
Yeah, I really like Newcastle. I like the Geordies. I like the fans. I like the club, and it is one of those that you can describe probably as a sleeping giant. It has everything for a proper owner to come in there and push that club on. Fans that will back you to the hilt if you're doing the right things. A stadium with a decent capacity, a good catchment area. I hope for Newcastle fans that things settle down because they deserve better, and I don't want to call them a yo-yo club, but in the last 10 years it has been a little bit of up, a little bit of down, and I think they deserve better. So I would probably agree with you, but it breaks my heart to even think about Newcastle going down. It's a tough one, mate, it is, but I kind of get where you're coming from. Of the promoted side, so Sheffield United, Norwich, what do you think with those two?
I think Norwich will stay up. I think they've got a decent few players. But I do think Sheffield will go down. I think they'll give it a good go like Cardiff did, but I just don't think they'll have the quality to stay up.
And then Aston Villa spending some strange money, I have to say. Some of their signings have really made me sit back and just think, I just don't know what's going on at Villa there. I think they'll do what it takes to stay up though, Villa. I do have a feeling they'll definitely stay up.
Yeah, they've spent a lot of money, but it's on some strange players, so it may work for them, it may not, but I don't think they'll be going down. They've got, even from their squad from last year, they've got decent players. So I think sort of a 15th to sort of 12th place finish for them.
And for Sheffield United, obviously their manager, there was a bit of turmoil there at the club, I think, between the ownership. I think it was two separate owners and they were trying to figure it out. But they have taken a bit of a gamble in signing Ravel Morrison.
Yeah, I think for them, it could either work out one of two ways, because his attitude is awful. He was sent to Lazio. He had problems there. He had problems when he was in Mexico. But he could come back to the Premier League and really want to sort of buckle down and prove a point that he is sort of a talented player and he can do it in the Premier League. Or it could work out that, like the last few clubs, that he's just going AWOL and his attitude just isn't there to change. So it could go either way, but I can see why they've taken the risk.
If I was to push you, mate, for a relegation 3, what 3 names would you give me?
Newcastle, Sheffield and Brighton.
Oh yeah, do you know what? On Brighton, again, this isn't a dig at their fans, but the way that the club treated Chris Hughton, I hope they go down. And again, not a dig at their fans, just I've immense respect for Chris Hughton, and I thought he was doing actually as good a job as he could possibly do there with his hands pretty much tied behind his back.
Yeah. With Brighton as well, it's similar to what I was saying about Newcastle. They've got Glenn Murray, but apart from that, they don't really have any source of goals. And Glenn Murray's going to be 35 next year, so unless they bring someone else in, which it doesn't look particularly likely that they will, again, it's going to be, I can't see them sort of doing that well at all.
I was expecting more from Anthony Knockaert when they came up, if I'm being honest. I remember looking at him in the Championship and thinking, do you know what, he's quite a talented player. He could be one to step up, have a good season with Brighton when they came up and then move on to a bigger club, but it just doesn't seem to have clicked for him.
Yeah, when he was with us, he was a very good player, but I don't know if a move away from Brighton would be a good thing for him or not, or if that is his level, but he's got moments of magic in him, but it's that consistency in the Premier League that he hasn't had.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to explain, and it's very hard to have these conversations and be so broad ranging and try and keep it down to under 20 minutes or so. So I do appreciate, ladies and gentlemen, that we've been a little bit vague on this, but I wanted to get Anthony on. I wanted to have a chat about this, and I wanted to see, because everybody asks me on streams at night, who do you think is going to win the league? Who do you think is going to make it here? And I've got to be honest, I've bottled out of it and said I don't want to give an answer on anything until the transfer window closes. But I do want to thank Anthony for coming on and doing what I've basically refused to do so far, which is putting his neck on the line and giving us his suggestions for the top 6 and then for the relegation 3 places. And Anthony, mate, I do want to wish you guys the best for the season as well, and I know we've another section to record in a couple of minutes, but again, Anthony is closing in on 1,000 subscribers on his channel, ladies and gents, and for those of you that aren't YouTubers or don't really understand what the significance of that is, there's a couple of things. If Anthony gets to the 1,000, he can apply to be monetized, and apart from that, he can go live on his phone, which seems like a very, very simple thing, but the YouTube rules, Anthony, have changed recently enough, mate, whereas you now can't just do that very simple thing of being outside the stadium, capture a moment and go live like that.
No, it's frustrating, but I'm definitely on my way to it, so hopefully by the start of the season is my aim to be at 1K, so fingers crossed I'll be able to get there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we can help Anthony out by getting over and subscribing to his channel. You can see the information there in front of you on our screen. Anthony, mate, it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to chatting to you soon.
Yeah, cheers for having us on.
No worries, buddy. Take care.